David Norris is not only a senator, but also an acclaimed and inspiring Joycean scholar.
I suppose the genius of the book is that he managed to find in a single day in Dublin, Joyce, examples of Odysseus's adventures in the Homeric epic, like the Sirens, the escape from Polyphemus, Circe. He found a modern equivalent. It's a tour de force of writing that has since never been matched, I don't think, has it?
I can't think of anything that's been matched. Nobody's tried it in quite the same way.
No.
But I think Joyce had that kind of extraordinary genius. I mean, chapter 4, you hit the kidneys.
Oh.
Mr. Leopold Bloom ate with relish the inner organ.
Read this, because this is where we're introduced to our great hero. Here we go. Do you want to read this for us? Just this opening, because it's such a wonderful introduction to a character.
Mr. Leopold Bloom ate with relish the inner organs of beasts and fowls. He liked thick giblet soup, nutty gizzards, a stuffed roast heart, liver slices fried with crust crumbs, fried hen cods roes. Most of all, he liked grilled mutton kidneys, which gave to his palate a fine tang of faintly scented urine. Isn't that mouth-watering?
It is mouth-watering. And at first you think, a fine tang of faintly scented urine is supposed to be a good thing, and yet, anybody who eats kidney, there is that. And
yes, there is.
Faintly scented is so right. But as you say, it brings us straight into having met characters who are very intellectual. You think, oh, this book's going to be about very smart people who quote Shakespeare all the time. And suddenly you hit this man Bloom, with his love of his... and he's going about making breakfast for his wife, setting things on the tray, the cat's running, stalking him.
And the cat is the most wonderful detail, because when he looks at the cat first, the cat looks at him back and says, meow, M-K-G-N-E-O. Yeah. And then when he says, milk for the pussins, and he leans down to pour milk for the pussins, the cat says almost the same, but not quite. There's an R. And that is the cat. There's a communication between them. And the whole book is about communication.
Now, a lot of people have picked up Ulysses and been baffled by it, or thought, oh, I might dip in and slowly get the odd sentence, but I'm never going to understand it. How would you suggest they go about reading it?
Jump in. Don't expect to understand everything, because the beautiful thing about Joyce is you don't, and you never come to the end of it. It's an inexhaustible treasure, and read it aloud.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what accent. I mean, the moment on the Strand, for example, where Stephen has been trying to make a note of the sound of a wave, it looks like the typewriter letting us sneeze, but it's exactly the sound if you say it. Most people will be put off looking at S-E-E, S-O-O, H-R-S-S, E-I-S-S, O-O-O-O-S, and they say, well, hump that for a lark. But if you hear it, listen, a four-worded wave speech. It's exactly the sound of a wave. And Joyce does that all the way through. And, Budgeon tells a story of meeting Joyce in Zurich, and Joyce was looking pleased with himself, and he said, just good day's work, Joyce? And Joyce said, write a chapter, a couple of pages, paragraph, a sentence. And Joyce said, I had the words of the sentence yesterday, but I got the order right today. I mean, he's a mosaic artist. Yeah. Every tiny little coloured stone is in exactly the right place to give the effect that Joyce wanted.
The right word in the right order, as Joyce said, is as good a definition of good writing as I can think of. Le mot juste, as Flaubert would have it, and it's that precision in creating a whole world through the inventiveness of language that provokes and delights the mind and makes great literature so memorable.
Joyce had this extraordinary ear for the musicality of Dublin language. I mean, things like a word like how and ever. So, how and ever. I mean, you can just see the way the body fits into that. Or when Bloom is being attacked in the Citizen episode, and a torch shouts out, "Hey, mister, your fly is open, mister." And that second mister is the perfect pointing and resolution of the line melodically. And Joyce could hear that.
He had that kind of ear, didn't he?
Yes, and every kind of Dublin saying, like that he'd suck whiskey off a sore leg, these ones, Joyce kind of almost collected these things. And I often think that subsequent writers must have thought it was terribly unfair competition, because Joyce was so terribly greedy.
Yes, he was.
Left
He was a
almost
hoarder.
nothing behind for other people.
A hoarder of linguistic treasure. Oh, look, here we are. Is this lamb's kidneys?
It is indeed.
Fantastic.
And a nice bit of gorgonzola.
And now they faintly scented with urine?
A glass of burgundy.
And a glass of burgundy would be lovely, thank you. So we're now going to have a proper Bloom feast, because he comes in and that's what he has, gorgonzola.
Yes, it is. Gorgonzola and good red burgundy wine.
I think he calls it the feety savour of green cheese, doesn't he? Feety. Shall we see if there's a faint scent of urine?
Well, I think we will, yes. And I wasn't going to, but the smell is so delicious.
It is good, isn't it? Here we are.
Lovely.
Delicious.
And tender.
Very tender.
Ulysses was the book I chose as my desert island disc. It's one I can go back to again and again, and not only for the sheer joy of his language, but also the humanity of his flawed and unheroic characters. Joyce's books only sell thousands, but one of his contemporaries sells hundreds of millions. The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy are the second and third best-selling novels of all time, just after Dickens' Tale of Two Cities. New Zealand-based director Peter Jackson has devoted many years to bringing J.R.R. Tolkien's books to the screen. And for him, Tolkien's admixture of Norse, Middle English and Anglo-Saxon is one key to the enduring success of both the books and the films. Roads go ever, ever on under cloud and under star, yet feet that wandering have gone return at last to home afar. Eyes that fire and sword have seen, and horror in halls of stone, look at last on meadows green, and trees and hills they long have known.
I wondered how much you felt, because you adapt these, how much the language matters to Tolkien, because I happen to think he's an extremely good writer of English. I mean, just at the level of the sentence, that you really can't improve much, can you?
I mean, it was one of the decisions we made when we were adapting Lord of the Rings, is that we tried to work as much of his language into the script as we could. I just think that one of the beauties of the book of Lord of the Rings, and I actually think it ultimately worked in the movie too, is that they're talking in a language that is beautiful and poetic, and even though it's not one that we're used to hearing on the street, you understand it. It becomes accessible in a funny kind of a way. And I mean, what Tolkien did great with his stories, and especially his use of language, is that he treated them as historical. Yeah. You know, I think that's the way that we found. You know, that was a door that we entered when we went into the movies. Is that this isn't made up? It's not. You know, it's not a piece of gobbledygook, you know, set on the planet Zog or some such thing. I mean, every name, every place name, every plant name that Tolkien wrote about, he based in some form of a language. It was a language sometimes that he created himself. It was an archaic, old Middle English form of language.
Like a sort of Oakenshield or something like that.
Yeah, everything meant something. Everything actually had a reality, and it was almost like he did literally create a history.
What I also admire about Tolkien is, like Joyce, his protagonists are reluctant heroes, grounded in a reality, no matter how fantastical the world they inhabit.
But for Tolkien, the real heroes, the true heroes, were the simple folk, the decent folk. There's I think, you know, what Tolkien's saying ultimately is to be a real hero if you're good, if you're decent, if you are prepared to offer yourself up to protect your fellow friend. And you have to wonder how much of that came from his experiences in the trenches in World War I.
Jackson is also known as a schlock horror director, where plot is all, and I wonder if, like me, he shares my unabashed love for the master of the genre, Stephen King.
As you say, I think he's one of the great storytellers of our time, of any time, really. And partly because he's so obsessed with storytelling.
That's right. The other thing about Stephen King, which I think is fantastic, is that I don't think he ever invents a character. Every single character he writes about, and these are good and bad, they're sane and they're insane, are an element of him. That he's not afraid to dig into the dark depths of his worst imagination and create a character out of that. So he literally mines what he considers the most evil part of himself, and he creates an absolute psychopath. But you know it's coming from a real place. Whereas you get somebody who says, now I'm going to write the most evil psychopath in the world, and they kind of make stuff up. And you read it, and it might be horrifying, but you're not connecting with it because you don't recognise any of it.
Yeah, I agree.